What's up everybody, Fortexfiend here, and welcome back again to another video on SD Gundam G Generation Eternal. For this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my banner review for the recently released banner, which features Psycho Zaku, and as well as Gundam Full Armor Thunderbolt, and as well as the brand new UR supporter warship Beehive. But before I go ahead and get started with that, you guys know the drill. If you enjoy what you see on my YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're not missing out on future uploads. Leave a like or dislike on this video, and comment down below if you've pulled for these units and how you like the event so far and what your progress is. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it. First things first, I want to put this out there again. None of the brand new things that we got are limited. So once this banner leaves, all of the new units, pilots, and the warship are going to be on future banners. So just keep that in mind if you're still wondering whether you're going to be doing some pulls for this banner. So we're going to go ahead and jump into featured right here. We're going to take a look at Heavy Gundam first, because this is one of the brand new SSR units that we got. I talked about this a little bit on my stream, but for an SSR unit, it's not bad. Its strongest attack is a range 4 of beam cannon, which has a max power of 5280, and the farther you are from an enemy, you get up to a 15% weapon power increase. So it's not bad. It should probably hit like close to 6,000, if 6,000. And in terms of its actual passives, it has a conditional attack up, which is great as long as your HP is at 50% or above. It also has a natural attack up at 10%, and also has some mitigation, reducing physical damage received by 20%. It also has that shield mechanism, which is good. And as you can see right here, in terms of terrain, it's pretty standard: space, land, and halfway underwater. And its attack stat is actually pretty respectable at 12k. That's actually pretty high, especially when you have it fully limit broken and SP converted. So all in all, solid SSR unit. Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk about the actual new URs themselves. We're going to start off with the Psycho Zaku. So one of the things that stood out to me for this unit is look what tag it has. It has one-shot killer. So right then and there, this already adds value to this unit, because currently in the game, at least in my opinion, although I know that a lot of people agree on this, one-shot killer, if you have Eternal and Lacus, is probably the best tag in the game right now, because the representation for one-shot killer is absolutely crazy. I mean, you got Aerial, you have Strike Freedom, you have Sazabi, you have Justice, you have Freedom, and now we have another one. So already, right off the bat, even though this is not a limited unit, this is very good for this unit to have. And we're also introduced to a brand new tag, which is Reused Psycho Device, with the Psycho Zaku, both its UR and its SSR forms having only that tag, but this ties in with the pilot. And we'll get into that when I talk about the pilot. But all in all, fantastic tags. It has UC, it has Rival, so what? That's already 2 Eternal Roads you could use there. It also has Protagonist, so you could use it there too. And it has that one-shot killer. So fantastic, absolutely awesome. It also has the Mobile Suit Gundam series, and we did just get a brand new Eternal Road for that. So another unit that you could use. Now, in terms of its actual skills, we're going to go ahead and take a look here. In terms of its abilities, it has increased mobility, increased attack, and increased accuracy and evasion. So the mobility is great for potentially acting sooner in PvP or Master League. And then afterwards, it has a higher natural evasion compared to other units, which is always fantastic. Its attack stat goes up to 11k for a supporter type unit, so that's not too bad if you think about it for a UR supporter type unit, assuming that you fully max limit break it. In terms of its actual weapon skill, so the ones that I want to take a look at are going to be the last two. So Beam Bazooka is going to be a fairly hard hitting 5 range attack at 4920 power. Barrage EX is its best skill, 6240 power, range 4, so that's not too bad. It also has absolute hit, weapon damage null, and then this is going to be your beam damage debuffer. So one of the reasons why one-shot killer is so good for this is because 2 of the strongest, DPS units in one-shot killer that you see used a lot is going to be Strike Freedom and Sazabi. Both their EX skills are beam special. So there you go. So now you have something that does a special debuff, and then you either go with Freedom or Aerial if you want to inflict that that beam debuff. So that's the one-shot killer now has a special debuffer. It also does have a giant bazooka, which I want to highlight because this is another debuff that it has, which is physical, but this one is at a 25%. So you're not really going to be using this. You could use this to support some units that do have like physical type damage. Like, for example, Hainu Gundam, its EX ability is actually physical. So that's something that you could consider if you want to use it. But more than likely, you're going to use this on a one-shot killer team primarily. So you're going to be using that EX ability. So all in all, great debuffs. I do wish it had the generalized defense down, but it's still a really cool unit and a really solid unit, especially with that one-shot killer. And then last but not least, it has shield defend, which great to have some sort of mitigation so that way it can survive longer. So all in all, I do think it is a pretty solid unit overall, and great that it has the one-shot killer. However, I do think that the biggest highlight for this banner is going to be the pilot. And I actually did pull this unit, so we're going to go into the pilot right here. I think the prize of the banner, arguably, is the support pilot, Daryl Lorenz. Now, his range stat is at 687, so that's his highest type of DPS. And when you compare him, and you could double check this, when you compare him to all of the other UR supporter type pilots, if you factor into account his passives, which we're going to talk about that, he has the third highest range stat. So the only two supporter URs that exceed him in range is going to be Anival Gato and Soleta, but he has the third highest. But what makes him so strong is his freaking skills. Like, first off, take a look at his skills. MP up. So now we have our third UR supporter pilot that has MP up. First we had Asuna, and then we had Paptima Shiroko, and now he has this. So that's great. So he can do high damage right off the bat. He has high speed, giving him extra movement, so that way he's easier to position. And he has sway. Now, granted, you cannot use sway after you've done MP up twice, but generally you'd use it once and then you'd sway, or you could strategize however you want depending on what the situation is. But those are all fantastic skills to have for a supporter pilot. And then afterwards, if we take a look at his abilities, and this is where I feel like it kind of gets a little crazy here. So he has the standard, support attack counter +1. We're going to take a look at his last passive first, because I want to save the second for last. So he has another support attack, so he can support attack and counter twice. His tag is very flexible, which is Xeon. When he's piloting a Xeon unit, increased damage delta 15%. And then if he pilots his own unit, which is the Psycho Zaku, if his vigor is supercharged or higher, he's going to have the range of his physical or beam weapons increased by 1. So we've seen this with the attacker Amuro, and now Daryl has it, which is fantastic. But if you take a look at his second passive, Ryu Psycho Device Pilot. So this is that brand new tag that we just saw. So if he's piloting a unit, which there's only 2 of this tag, his range damage is increased by 30%, and he has increased movement by 1. And that's permanent, as long as he's piloting a unit with the Ryu Psycho Device tag. So that is, to me, that is an insanely powerful ability. He's easier to position, and he's also going to be getting increased range damage, which primarily the Psycho Zaku, its best skills are going to be range. So all in all, I think that the value of this banner definitely comes from this pilot. But then again, remember, not limited. So if you miss out, nothing to worry about. You could potentially get him and his unit on another banner. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the rest. We're going to take a look at Gundam Full Armor, which I unfortunately did not pull, but again, I'm not losing sleep over it, because I can always get this on a future banner. So very high defense, very high HP at 121k. If we take a look at the skills here, it has access to a map attack. No effect, but it does have absolute hit, 4200 power, and I like the coverage on that. Exactly the same as, for example, Justice Meteor has that exact same one. In terms of its other skills, we have Barrage EX here with a respectable 5880 power, absolute hit, weapon attribute damage reduction null, and then afterwards it has decreased physical weapon power by 35%. So if you use this on a unit that primarily likes to use physical damage, this is great. So you're lowering that specific type of damage that they are inflicting. And then afterwards, it also does have attack down 25%. Not as good as what we've seen on other tanks. However, it does have that, so you have access to some sort of attack debuff. Now, in terms of its actual abilities, it has increased defense, increased HP, and also physical damage reduced, so it has mitigation right there. And it also does have the shield defense, which is also pretty good. And then in terms of its tags, UC series, protagonist, and rival. So you can already kind of figure out where you could use this unit if you have it. EFSF, which is also pretty flexible, and it has lightning fast. So lightning fast is not as good at one-shot killer, but it's still a pretty good tag. And we do have some lightning fast warships that are available if you manage to pull them. So very, very solid option for a lightning fast team. And then it also has the Mobile Suit Gundam series. So again, great to use for the brand new Eternal Road that we got. In terms of the pilot, we're going to take a look at EO Fleming. Great defensive stat there. His skills, he has high speed, energy charge, and HP repair. The HP repair is always nice. Energy charge, I think honestly, any type of energy type of skills or passives, I think are probably the least most wanted, but he has this. I would have preferred maybe like force defend or attack burst. I would have preferred one of those, or maybe even like increasing the range of his weapon skills. But all in all, solid skills. Two of them are pretty good. The other one is just kind of a throwaway in my opinion. And then afterwards we have support defense, which is pretty standard. Increased defense by 20%, which is good. And then afterwards another support defense. So this guy can defend twice. So now we have, 3 UR defenders that could do that. We now have him, we have Mika, and we also have Jonah. So another option if you're looking for like a double support defender. And then his tag, again, very flexible, EFSF. When he's piloting an EFSF unit, he has increased damage to enemy by 15% and reduced damage taken by 15%. So all in all, I like the double defense. I think that's his saving grace. He has HP recovery, which is great. They are high SP costs, so if you use HP repair, you're not going to use energy charge. But then again, when will you ever use energy charge over HP repair? I can't really think of a situation when you're going to do that unless you're in a stage where it's taking quite a while and you're running out of energy. But generally, we haven't really seen a stage where like your energy gets massively taxed, especially for a defensive unit. You're going to want to stay alive as much as possible. So I think EO is good. I think having another extra pilot that can support defense twice is solid. I don't think he's as impressive as Daryl, but all in all, if you pull this unit, great. But remember, not limited, so you're not missing out if you don't pull on this banner. And finally, Claudia up here in Beehive. It's for Mobile Suit Gundam series, which there's a ton of Mobile Suit Gundam series units, with the series being out for such a long time. This one has HP restoration, so unlike the Bright Noah white base one, which is the UR supporter ship for Mobile Suit Gundam, that one is energy. This one is HP restoration. So if you manage to pull this one, very, very useful, especially for Eternal Road 7, which just came out. But if you don't pull it, again, not limited. I think the warship is like a consolation prize, in my opinion. The cool thing about it is the HP restoration, obviously, because the other one that is currently already within the game is energy restoration. So, overall, my review on the banner, I think it's a solid banner for non-limited things that we're getting. I think the prize of the banner is definitely the Daryl Lorenz pilot. So if you manage to pull Psycho Zaku and Daryl Lorenz, fantastic, especially because Psycho Zaku can fit in a one-shot killer team. However, knowing that this isn't limited, I know a lot of you guys are skipping, and, objectively, especially if you are a newer player, I probably would not pull on this banner and just wait for something that's actually limited that you could miss out on, where these units could potentially pop out and you'll be like, oh, okay, cool, I got this unit, because none of them are limited. Well, all in all, for non-limited stuff, solid overall. Just not worth really investing into too much, unless, of course, you really like these units. All right, guys, well, that's going to go ahead and conclude my review for this banner. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, what you think so far. And if you manage to pull any of these, where are you going to be using them and how much fun are you having with them? Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everyone.